The next morning, the village woke earlier than usual. People swept their yards, opened their shops, and greeted one another with cheerful smiles. The peaceful sound of birds mixed with the voices of children walking to school. Ava stepped outside carrying a basket of vegetables Martha had asked her to wash. She had only lived in the village for 2 days, yet it already felt more welcoming than the house where she had spent most of her life. "Good morning, Ava," an elderly neighbor called. "Good morning. Are you settling in well?" "Yes. Everyone has been very kind." The old woman smiled. "That's because Ethan brought home a good wife." Ava felt her cheeks grow warm again. She still wasn't used to hearing people speak about her with kindness. After washing the vegetables, she carried them back inside. Martha was already preparing lunch. "You don't have to help so much," Martha said. "I want to." "Then help me taste the soup." Ava laughed. "I thought you wanted me to help cook." "I do. But tasting is the most important job." The two women laughed together. Just then, Ethan walked in with his sleeves rolled up. "Mom, what is it?" "I'll be gone for a few hours." "Another meeting?" "Yes. One of the companies is sending people for the yearly inspection." Martha nodded calmly. "Don't keep them waiting." "I won't." Ava looked at him curiously. "I thought you said you only managed a few farms." Ethan smiled. "I do, but the inspection covers all of them." Before she could ask another question, he picked up his jacket. "I'll be back before dinner." "Drive safely," Martha said. "I will." He smiled at Ava before leaving. "I'll bring you something from town." "You don't have to." "I want to." Then he quietly walked away. Ava watched him disappear down the road. For some reason, she found herself looking forward to his return. Several hours later, a long line of black luxury SUVs slowly entered the village. The expensive vehicles looked completely out of place on the quiet country roads. Villagers stopped what they were doing. Children pointed excitedly. "Wow, so many fancy cars. Who are they here to see?" The convoy finally stopped near the village office. Well-dressed men in black suits stepped out one after another. Each of them carried folders and documents. The villagers whispered among themselves. "I've never seen anything like this. Maybe they're government officials." "No, they look like businessmen." The village chief hurried outside. A middle-aged man wearing a dark suit stepped forward politely. "Good afternoon. We have an appointment with Mr. Ethan Chun." The village chief smiled. "You're a little early. Mr. Chun is still inspecting the south orchards. If you'd like, I'll take you there." The man quickly nodded. "Thank you." The convoy started moving again. Every villager watched in surprise. Did they just say Mr. Ethan Chun? Our Ethan? What kind of business needs so many people? No one knew the answer. At the same time, Ava finished helping Martha prepare lunch. She looked toward the road. "Ethan said he'd be back before dinner." "He will," Martha replied confidently. "My son never breaks his word." Just then, the sound of engines echoed through the village. One black SUV after another slowly passed in front of the farmhouse. Ava stared in surprise. So many expensive cars. Who could they be visiting? Martha smiled but continued washing vegetables. "They're probably here for Ethan." Ava blinked. "For Ethan?" "Yes. He has meetings like this every now and then." She said it as casually as if she were talking about buying vegetables. Ava looked at the passing vehicles again. "There must be at least 20 cars." Martha nodded. "Maybe. I didn't count." Ava could hardly believe what she was hearing. What kind of farming needs 20 luxury SUVs? Martha laughed softly. "I don't know much about business. You'll have to ask Ethan." Before Ava could reply, another car stopped outside the gate. A young woman wearing a business suit stepped out. She walked respectfully toward the house. "Mrs. Chun." Martha smiled. "Oh, Lily. You came." The young woman bowed slightly. "I came to deliver some documents." She noticed Ava and smiled warmly. "You must be Mrs. Ava Chun. It's nice to finally meet you." Ava nodded politely. "It's nice to meet you too." Lily handed a folder to Martha. "These require Mr. Chin's signature. I'll leave them here." "Thank you." As Lily turned to leave, Ava accidentally caught a glimpse inside the folder. Her eyes widened. There were maps, investment reports, financial statements, and several pages with numbers so large she thought she had read them wrong. Hundreds of millions, maybe even billions. She looked up in disbelief. Before she could ask anything, Lily had already returned to her car. The convoy drove away. The farmhouse became quiet once again. Ava slowly turned toward Martha. "Auntie, what exactly does Ethan do?" Martha smiled while wiping her hands with a towel. My son. He's just a farmer. Ava looked toward the disappearing convoy, then back at Martha, then at the thick folder lying on the table. A small laugh escaped her lips. For the first time, she realized that whenever the Chin family said the words, just farmers, they clearly meant something very different from everyone else. Before she could ask another question, footsteps sounded outside. Ethan had returned. He walked into the yard carrying 2 paper bags. I hope I wasn't too late. He handed one bag to Martha. The tea you wanted. Then he handed the second one to Ava. I remembered you stopped looking at these yesterday. Ava opened the bag. Inside was a beautiful light blue scarf. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't expensive looking. But it was exactly the one she had quietly admired in a shop window the day before. You remembered? Ethan smiled. Of course. You looked at it for almost a minute. Ava gently held the scarf against her chest. No one had ever paid attention to such a small detail before. At that moment, she realized something that made her heart beat just a little faster. Perhaps the greatest gift Ethan could give her wasn't his success. It was the way he noticed the little things no one else ever had. Neither of them knew that someone sitting inside one of the departing black SUVs had also noticed Ava, and had already begun asking questions about the mysterious young woman who had suddenly become Mrs. Ethan Chun. The evening sky turned orange as the sun slowly disappeared behind the mountains. A cool breeze carried the smell of fresh grass across the valley. After dinner, Martha stood up with a warm smile. You two have been busy all day. She looked at Ethan. Take Ava for a walk. The moon will be beautiful tonight. Ethan smiled. All right. Ava followed him outside. The village was quiet. Lights glowed from the windows of nearby homes, and the sound of crickets filled the peaceful night. They walked side by side along a narrow path beside the river. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence no longer felt strange. It felt comfortable. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. How are you settling in? Ava smiled gently. I still wake up wondering if this is all a dream. A dream? I've never lived somewhere this peaceful. She looked at the river as the moonlight danced across the water. No one here looks at me with hatred. No one tells me I'm not good enough. No one reminds me that I don't belong. She let out a quiet laugh. I guess I'm still getting used to it. Ethan stopped walking. He turned toward her. You don't have to get used to belonging. You already do. Ava slowly looked up. Their eyes met. For a moment, everything around them seemed to disappear. She quickly looked away. Her heart was beating much faster than before. To hide her embarrassment, she changed the subject. Why didn't you ever get married before? Ethan smiled. My mother asks me that every month. And your answer? I was waiting. For what? The right person. Ava lowered her eyes. You really believe someone can wait that long? I do. What if they never appear? He looked at her quietly. Then I'd rather stay alone than spend my life with the wrong person. His words were simple, but they touched something deep inside her. No one had ever spoken about love that way. Most people she knew cared about money, status, or power. Ethan cared about none of those things. They continued walking until they reached the small hill covered with wildflowers. The valley below sparkled under the moonlight. It looks even prettier at night, Ava whispered. It does. Ethan reached into his pocket. I actually bought something else yesterday. Ava looked at him in surprise. You already bought me the scarf. This isn't expensive. He opened his hand. A tiny silver hairpin rested on his palm. It was shaped like a small flower. I saw you fixing your hair with a pencil this morning. I thought this might help. Ava stared at the little hairpin. It was simple, yet somehow, it meant more than any expensive jewelry she had ever received. You noticed that? He nodded. You looked uncomfortable. Her eyes slowly became wet again. You always notice everything. Ethan smiled softly. I only notice you. The words slipped out before he realized what he had said. For the first time since they met, he looked embarrassed. I didn't mean. Ava couldn't help laughing. The sound was light and genuine. It echoed softly across the quiet hill. Ethan looked at her in surprise. What? Nothing. She smiled even brighter. I've just never seen you nervous before. He rubbed the back of his neck. I guess that makes 2 of us. She gently took the hairpin from his hand. Would you? She hesitated. Would you help me put it on? Ethan blinked. Are you sure? She nodded. He carefully stepped closer. His fingers gently moved through her hair as he replaced the pencil with the silver flower. Neither of them spoke. They were close enough to hear each other's breathing. When he finally stepped back, he smiled. It looks beautiful. Ava looked down shyly. Thank you. No. He smiled. It suits you. For a brief moment, neither of them wanted the evening to end. Then suddenly, the peaceful silence was broken by the sound of hurried footsteps. Boss Ethan. One of the farm workers ran toward them, breathing heavily. There you are. What happened? Ethan asked. The guests from East River Group are still waiting. They refused to leave without seeing you. I thought the meeting ended. It did. But another group arrived right after. They said it's urgent. Ethan frowned slightly. I'll come. The worker nodded before hurrying back. Ava looked at him curiously. You have another meeting? I'm afraid so. You don't have to go if you're tired. He smiled apologetically. I promised I'd only be gone for a little while tonight. It's all right. Work comes first. Ethan looked at her for a moment. I'll make it up to you. You don't have to. I do. Before leaving, he gently adjusted the new hairpin one last time. I'll be back before you fall asleep. Then he turned and disappeared into the night. Ava watched him until he was completely out of sight. Without realizing it, she reached up and lightly touched the silver flower in her hair. A smile slowly appeared on her face. For the first time in years, someone's promise made her want to wait. Far away, inside the brightly lit meeting hall, more than 20 company executives stood the moment Ethan walked through the door. Good evening, Mr. Chun. Every person in the room greeted him with deep respect. At the very back, one elderly businessman quietly studied Ethan before speaking. So, the woman we saw today really is your wife. Ethan smiled without hesitation. Yes. A warm pride filled his voice. She is. The old man nodded thoughtfully. In that case, we should prepare a proper welcome. None of them knew that this simple decision would soon place Ava directly in the spotlight and force the truth about the mysterious Chun family closer to being revealed. The next morning, Ava woke before sunrise. She quietly stepped outside with a small basket, planning to pick fresh vegetables before breakfast. The village was still peaceful. A light mist covered the fields, and tiny drops of dew rested on the green leaves. She smiled to herself. Only a few days ago, she had been trapped in a house where every morning began with shouting. Now, the first thing she heard was birds singing. She slowly walked through the garden, picking tomatoes, peppers, and fresh herbs. Just as she finished, she heard footsteps behind her. You woke up early. She turned and smiled. Good morning. Ethan was carrying 2 cups of warm soy milk. I thought you might be here. You remembered? He laughed. You like quiet places. He handed her one of the cups. The warm drink felt comforting in her hands. You remember a lot of things, she said. I try to. The two of them walked back toward the house together. Before they reached the front gate, 3 black luxury cars stopped outside. Several men in business suits quickly stepped out. The oldest among them bowed respectfully the moment he saw Ethan. Good morning, Mr. Chun. Good morning. We've brought the documents you requested. And the revised partnership agreement. Ethan nodded. Let's go inside. The man noticed Ava standing beside him. His serious expression immediately softened. You must be Mrs. Chun. It is an honor to meet you. Ava smiled politely. It's nice to meet you. The man carefully handed her a beautifully wrapped gift box. This is only a small welcome gift. I hope you'll accept it. Oh, I couldn't. You can, Ethan said gently. They've already carried it all the way here. Ava accepted the box with both hands. Thank you. The men smiled before following Ethan into the living room. Curious, Ava placed the gift on the table and quietly went to help Martha prepare breakfast. An hour later, the meeting finally ended. The businessmen left one after another. Each of them respectfully shook Ethan's hand before getting into their cars. As the convoy disappeared down the road, Ava finally asked the question she had been holding back. How many companies do you work with? Ethan thought for a moment. I'm not sure. She blinked. You're not sure. There are quite a few. We stopped counting years ago. Ava stared at him. She wasn't sure whether he was joking. Before she could ask another question, Martha carried the gift box over. Ava, why don't you see what's inside? She slowly opened it. Inside lay an elegant pearl necklace. Every pearl looked perfectly round. They reflected the morning sunlight beautifully. It's gorgeous. Martha nodded. They have good taste. Ava carefully touched one of the pearls. It must be very expensive. Ethan looked at it briefly. I suppose so. I didn't ask. Ava couldn't help laughing. You really don't care how much things cost, do you? He smiled. I care more about whether people are happy. His answer made her heart beat a little faster. Just then, another vehicle stopped outside the house. This time, it wasn't a luxury SUV. It was a large delivery truck. Two workers climbed down. "Good morning, Mr. Chun. Your order has arrived." "My order?" Ava whispered. She didn't remember Ethan buying anything. The workers opened the back of the truck. Inside were dozens of beautiful flower pots. White roses, pink lilies, blue hydrangeas, lavender, sunflowers. The colorful flowers filled the entire truck. Ava stared in surprise. "What are all these?" Ethan looked slightly embarrassed. The garden looked a little empty. "I thought you might like more flowers." Her eyes widened. "All of these are for the garden?" He nodded. "You smiled when you saw the flowers by the front door. I thought having more would make you smile even more." For a moment, Ava didn't know what to say. No one had ever paid attention to such a small detail before. She looked at the flowers, then back at Ethan. "You bought an entire truck." "Just because I smiled?" He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "Was it too much?" Instead of answering, Ava quietly stepped closer. For the first time since they met, she reached out and gently held his hand. "No." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "It was perfect." Ethan looked down at their hands. A slow smile spread across his face. Neither of them noticed Martha watching from the doorway. She quietly smiled to herself. "Looks like my son is finally learning romance." Just then, the peaceful morning was interrupted by the sound of another engine. A dusty pickup truck stopped outside the gate. A young man hurried out, breathing heavily. "Boss Ethan." "What happened?" Ethan asked. "The East warehouse caught fire. The workers managed to put it out, but several important documents were destroyed." The smile disappeared from Ethan's face. "Were any workers injured?" "No. Everyone is safe." Ethan let out a quiet breath. "Good. The documents can be replaced. People can't." Without another word, he turned toward Ava. "I'm sorry. I have to go." She smiled gently. "Go. I'll be fine. I'll come back as soon as I can." "I know." As Ethan climbed into his truck and drove away, Ava watched until he disappeared down the road. She looked down at the flowers surrounding the yard. The pearl necklace rested gently in her hands. The silver flower hairpin still held her hair in place. The jade bracelet sparkled softly beneath the morning sun. None of those gifts meant as much to her as one simple truth. For the first time in her life, someone always came back when they promised they would. But neither Ava nor Ethan knew that while he rushed to deal with the warehouse fire, someone else had quietly entered the village. And this visitor had not come to offer congratulations. They had come with a secret from Ava's past, one that could shake the happiness she had only just begun to find.
And that is where our story ends for today.